Hey everybody, Tim here with today's episode of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Season 4, Episode 5, Rejoined. So how do you talk about this episode? I'm going to try not to get emotional. So I want to take a step back. If you haven't watched my review for the documentary, What We Left Behind, I would recommend it. I talk a lot about, not necessarily this episode, but the story. I'm going to retell it. So in the documentary, Ira Behr talks about the different things that Deep Space Nine approached, their topics of conversation, things like drugs, things about sexual awareness, things about just all sorts of stuff, identity, war games, everything. And at one point they talk about the LGBT community, and at one point they talk about this episode specifically, and they give it a check mark, and Ira Behr comes forward and says, no, we take the check mark away. We don't necessarily get an X, but take the check mark away because we didn't do all that we could have done to be upfront with those people. And it was eye-opening for me because it instantly got my respect for Ira Behr, because he knows that he took a step forward. He knows that he did what no other Star Trek had done. The Next Generation hid from it. Voyager, I don't really remember, but I don't think Voyager ever even came close to the subject. And Enterprise, to my knowledge, never came close. It's all about this series did what no other Star Trek series could do. Now, that being said, The Next Generation is especially frustrating. Again, if you guys haven't watched my review for The Host, where I actually kind of cried during that review, that episode came very close, and it was all about Trill, and about that whole, when you take a Trill out of one host and put it into another, and in this one it was Dr. Crusher, where Dr. Crusher then, if she wanted to pursue the relationship, would be with a woman, but she said she couldn't do it. And then the second episode where Riker fell in love with an ambiguous type society who they were all played by women, and even supposedly Jonathan Frakes has said he wished they'd been played by a man because it could have been that homosexual storyline that The Next Generation never talked about. Well, this is that episode where we finally get it. And congratulations to Dax, or the actress who plays Dax, for being part of the first same-sex kiss in Star Trek. So this episode, the whole thing is about one of Dax's, it's going to be kind of difficult to talk about, so kind of bear with me. So one of Dax's previous hosts, Tarias, was married to a woman named Khan, or Kane, she says it weird. And now here it is, years later, Tarias has died, and we kind of get our way down to Dax, who is a female, and Khan has died and is also in the body of a female. Now, the way Trill society works is once you go into a new host, all connections to the past are cut. Your friends, your family, everything. Now, we already know that Dax is a little bit ambiguous when it comes to that, because we've seen her in other episodes, like the episode Dax, where she's on court trial for some of Curzon's things. Or the episode Blood Oath, where, again, for Curzon, she honors the oath that she made to the Klingon trio. So, but in this one, it is taboo. It is pretty much against the law for a Trill to pursue a relationship with a previous Trill that they were together. To the point where if she gets caught, she will be like exiled from the Trill community, and when Jadzia dies, the Dax symbiote will die with her, and that will be the end of that line. And so it's very interesting. It's a very taboo subject. And now, granted, that is for any relationship. So even if now Dax was a female and Kane had been a male, it still would have been taboo. But it's interesting how they focus on the taboo while focusing on the fact that it's a homosexual relationship. I'll be upfront. I like how they tackled this subject, but I am a little like, seriously, because they're both women, and lesbians have always been more accepted than gay males, where like I can't tell you how many bumper stickers I saw, especially like in the late 90s, where it's like, I support gay marriage if both chicks are hot and stuff like that. So I feel like this episode was only allowed because it was with two women. If they had tried to do it with two men, I feel like it would have been shut down like that, but that could just be me. So it starts out pretty early. You could feel the tension where they're at the lunch and they're like, "Well, should we make a scene and just start throwing stuff at each other and have a screaming match?" And Khan says, like, "Well, what if we just throw ourselves at each other? That'll give them something to talk about." And you can instantly feel the tension. And like the kiss is amazing. Like, it is one of the most powerful kisses on screen, at least in my opinion, because like Star Trek is well known for the first, or it was said to be the first interracial kiss. It wasn't, but it was an early one. But the way it's done, like, you can't even see them touch. And some people say that their lips don't actually make contact. It's all about camera angle. This kiss is like, I mean, we actually see people that are in love in Star Trek all the time. This kiss, just the acting is so well done, and it is such a good scene that it really like hits you in the heart when Khan actually ends up leaving, and she turns and she looks and she sees Dax up in the rafters, and they know that they will never be together. It's just a heartbreaking episode all around. I thought it was very well done. Probably one of my top 10 favorites. I think it's funny that going back to season 1 where we had the Dax episode, and I was like, this episode sucks. And then it continued on where we saw the one where her symbiote was removed from her forcibly. And then we've seen the other ones where she meets all of her previous hosts and stuff. I feel like every time we get a Dax episode, it's a little bit better. And this episode is easily one of my favorite episodes. I thought it was so well done. It was so good. So for those who have seen this one, and again, all the props to Ira Bear, to that not only did he push the envelope with having two women kiss on screen, but he knows that even though he did this episode, that they could have done more in future episodes. And he even said he wishes he would have had Garrick come out to Dr. Bashir and have that whole storyline, because that would have been amazing as well. So for those who have seen this one, I do not remember when this episode came out. I was alive and I was old enough to know of it, but I have no memory because I had zero interest in Deep Space Nine, to be completely honest. So I would love for those who remember this episode coming out. What do you guys remember? Do you guys remember this making headlines and people freaking out? Do you guys remember like it being a big controversy? What do you guys think? What do you guys think about the way that this pushed that envelope? And what do you guys think about the Dax storyline? Did you hope that they would get together in the end? Or did you know that it would never happen? Go ahead, let me know in the comments below. Thank you guys for everything. You guys are all amazing. I will see you guys next time for Starship Down.